Well, hey everybody, it's Sandy and welcome back to my channel dedicated to helping you advocate for your own health one topic at a time. So guys, today I want to extend an invitation for another exercise over in the Facebook group. So just keep watching. Yeah, so first of all, I want to say thank you to those of you who participated in the exercise that we did just recently in the Facebook group. It was a 7-day exercise where we checked in once a day and said something for which we were grateful. Now, I want to do more of this kind of thing, and I almost call them challenges because that's what you sort of see used for this kind of activity. But yeah, I didn't want to call it something that sort of has a sense of we're tearing ourselves up as opposed to just doing something for self-improvement. And, I want to say that I noticed for myself something really interesting. I anticipated that this would be an exercise that would help me because if I have to state each day something for which I'm grateful, it helps me kind of get my head into a good place, a positive place where, I'm really focusing on the things that I have and everything that's good in my life, which, most of us tend to focus on our problems. We focus on what we need to work on, what we need to fix. And this is something that helps us really appreciate what we have. And I think it really feeds the soul. And I thought, that's what I'll get out of this. And I did. And I thought that I would help other people to get that out of this as well. But what I found is something in addition to that, which is that reading everybody else's posts each day really multiplied the benefit for me. And part of that was because almost anything people said, if it was general enough, I could relate to that too. Like, oh yeah, I'm grateful for that too. Oh yeah, me too. Yeah. It just helped me see all the many, many things. Like each day, it wasn't just me. It was like there were many people's comments that all could pertain to me as well. But even when it was something really specific to somebody's circumstance, like I think somebody typed in one day that they were really grateful that a relative lived near their aging parent because they themselves don't live near the aging parent who has all kinds of needs related to accommodations for aging, and some other person in the family was helping out with this who was near the aging parent. And I thought that's real specific. That doesn't speak to my personal circumstances right now. Nonetheless, it did my heart good. And it was like, I felt appreciative that that person had these relatives who helped with their parents. I don't know how to explain it. It was just a really welcome and unexpected effect that I found after doing this as a group. Let me know if anybody else had that experience or whatever thoughts you did have on that exercise, and if you're interested in doing more. And thank you also, I will say, happened to be the same week that I got sick. Fortunately, it wasn't COVID, but thank you for those of you who expressed such nice, kind wishes and thoughts and prayers. And I was pretty sick, but I'm so much better now, so thank you. So I was thinking about some more of these exercises that we could do. Some of these have to do with the soul, like the gratitude, but I got to thinking that maybe it would be a good idea to do a 1-week exercise as a group on intermittent fasting. Let me explain why. Because I recently did a video about some of the recent research that's been published on what renders you more likely to have long COVID. I'm going to link that video right here. Now, one of the things that renders you more likely to have long COVID was type 2 diabetes, which is a metabolic disease, not to be confused with type 1 diabetes, which is an autoimmune disease. Type 2 diabetes is a metabolic disease. It's metabolic syndrome chapter 2. It is completely reversible. Now, I'm not recommending that if you are diabetic of any kind that you go ahead and start intermittent fasting. Much to the contrary, I'm going to just insert my usual disclaimer here, which is that I'm not giving any individual medical advice on this channel. Nothing that I say should be deemed a substitute for the advice of your own practitioner. So this is something that I think that you should discuss with your practitioner. If you have type 2 diabetes, I think you should discuss whether you're a candidate for intermittent fasting. Now, intermittent fasting is an umbrella term, and there are all different ways to do it. There's time-restricted eating. Some people follow like 5-2, where 5 days a week they eat like whatever is normal for them, and 2 days a week they have extreme calorie deprivation where they maybe only eat 500 calories in a day. I don't do that. I eat a time-restricted eating plan, which I don't recommend starting with this, but I eat only in a 6-hour window, and so I fast 18 hours a day. Typically people start with 8-16, so an 8-hour window during which they'll eat in a 16-hour fast. But, if you are somebody who eats in a much larger window and that's going to be a really big change, even a baby step. I mean, can you go 12 hours? Can you fast from 7 to 7 and then only eat from 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening, or 8 to 8 or whatever it might be? Can you make it 12 hours? Can you make it 10 hours? So I think once you get to 8, you're in really good shape, and that's where you'll start to see some metabolic shifting. The reason that intermittent fasting can help prevent metabolic syndrome and can help be a really powerful tool in your toolbox of trying to reverse type 2 diabetes. I don't think it can be the only thing. I think getting rid of sugars and reducing the carbs is the other thing that's extremely important. But let's not do a million things at one time. The reason that the intermittent fasting can work is because it allows you to clean the liver stores of glycogen out. So the reason that you get fatty liver, which is the precursor to metabolic disease, metabolic syndrome, which is the precursor to type 2 diabetes, is because we're constantly eating in our cultures. We're not living like we were, like our ancestors were. We're not living like other mammals on the earth, where we have to expend a lot of energy in order to get a meal, and then it might be a while until we get another meal. And therefore, we were not only living off of our blood sugar for energy. Once our blood sugar was gone, if there was nothing to eat, we were tapping into our glycogen stores, and that means we were cleaning out our liver, because glycogen is stored in the liver. And after that was done, the liver sends a message to the body that says, I'm just about out of glycogen here. And then what we had to do is tap into our fat stores. And that's why our bodies are evolutionarily designed to store fat. If your ancestors were living through the winter, they might have gone a very long time. And food was very scarce, maybe for months at a time. So they added on extra fat stores during times when food was plentiful. And then those fat stores were quickly tapped into and emptied before the next period of time came around that food was abundant, if that even happened. That's kind of an oversimplification, and if anybody wants me to take a deeper dive into that, I will. And I'm going to attach down below in the description box. I don't usually make a habit of taking people away from my channel, but I do want you to hear a discussion and possibly purchase a book that I think goes a long way in explaining not only this, but all kinds of other concepts of metabolism that I think are very important and not as difficult to understand and not as elusive as people think they are. It's actually pretty simple. Now, I know that a lot of people who have type 2 diabetes are on metformin. I think that can help, but I also personally know plenty of people who have gotten off metformin. I'm not recommending you do that without consulting with your own practitioner. I know people who have changed their metabolism and worked with their bodies so that they could ultimately come off of the medication. The first step to ridding yourself of type 2 diabetes is changing your metabolism so that you can clean out your liver. The way to clean out your liver is to have a period of time during which blood sugar is just not the available resource, so that your body has to tap into those glycogen stores. Now, if you are new to this and you just want to put your toe in the water and partake in this challenge, but you can't go 16-8. You can't fast for 16 hours. You're just not used to it. You normally eat in a 14-hour window, and it would just be too much of a change, and you go to 12. I think that will be really helpful in terms of helping you train yourself to get prepared to doing the intermittent fasting. I don't think that's a long enough window to tap into your glycogen stores. I don't think it's a long enough window for you to see a change in your metabolism. Nonetheless, for the purpose of this 1-week exercise, if that's what you're doing, that's what you're doing, and it's fine. Now, anybody who wants to partake in an intermittent fasting exercise for 1 week in the Facebook group, just check in and say what you're doing and what you did, and or any challenges that you had. Your comment for the day could be a question that's come up. Your comment for the day could be skipped today, break day, whatever it might be. So it doesn't have to be anything really long. You don't have to go into all kinds of detail. But I'm just wondering if we could get almost a conversation started through doing a 1-week exercise where the people who are partaking in it do something to begin. Just put your toe in the water of intermittent fasting. I think that there is coming a no longer distant drumbeat that is saying that it's imperative for good metabolic health of humans. That's my belief. I'm sure it has to be studied more, and we're going to hear all kinds of things and nuances and things that whittle it down into more specific information. But I've been doing this for over a decade now, and back when I started, it was such a fringe thing. Nobody had heard of it. I remember explaining it to a personal trainer with whom I was working at the time, had never heard of it, and tried desperately to talk me out of it over a period of weeks until I left. And I'm so glad that I have continued with intermittent fasting for all these years. It's been the best thing I've ever done for my metabolic health. And by the way, it is not even hard. I really don't even think about it from day to day. Almost never. Okay, so I know this one is not really the same thing as gratitude, and it's maybe not as pleasant. It's maybe not something everybody's going to do. So maybe I'm whittling down the group too small. I hope not. But I hope that even if you're not interested in doing it and diving in, if you'll just do something that's just a baby step toward beginning to explore intermittent fasting. Even check in and say, for today, I read this book or I read that article. And let me know about it. So I'm going to start in the Facebook group in the morning. I will put one post up every morning. It will be for 7 days. And it's just going to say what's going on with my intermittent fasting in my life for today. So if you want to join and you're not a member of the Facebook group, head on over to Facebook and go to Sandy's DIY Health Advocacy Facebook's page and ask to join the group. And I'll hope to see you all over there. And until next time, be well. Bye-bye.